We have partnered with a world-renowned RF designer. They have looked at our network, they've looked at what's the most efficient placement and the best location for these towers. The design that we have is so solid.
Being able to place your network where you have designed your network means that the customer will have faster data. The customer will communicate better, which is ultimately what the goal should be.
We are ready. Turn us on.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into NB12 Weekend, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, why the private sector has taken issue with government's $20 million jobs program. A leading surgeon urged government to think outside the box for NHI. Plus, a women's group disappointed over yet another delay in the gender equality referendum. I'm Paige McCartney. We've got those stories and more straight ahead on NB12 Weekend. Again to NB12. While embracing the Prime Minister's announcement that government will allocate $20 million for a jobs program, Executive Chairman of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation, Edison Sumner, says that program should not be tied to urban renewal. Urban renewal has been the subject of public scrutiny after the Auditor General revealed deficiencies in the management of the program's funds. But apart from the scandal surrounding urban renewal, Sumner said it does not make business sense to tie a training program to a community outreach program.
I think that if you're going to put in place a jobs readiness program, a skills development program, an apprenticeship program, that our opinion is initially that it should not be tied directly to urban renewal. There should be a clear separation, right? Because the two of them do not necessarily go hand in hand.
Long Island Member of Parliament Loretta Butler Turner last week expressed grave concern about the government providing $20 million to urban renewal and said this jobs program seemed very similar to the Ingram administration's 52-week jobs program that the PLP called an election ploy and opted not to continue when it came to office. Sumner said he doesn't doubt that there may be some political motivation behind the decision to create a jobs program. However, he said the chamber is looking at it from a purely apolitical stance.
Yeah, we understand that election's coming, and we know that any government will do whatever they can to encourage and spur activity in the economy, right? I mean, it's something that, governments do it. That's what they do. But I would like to see this from a purely apolitical perspective, right? Meaning that beyond the next election, some of these issues may still be present, that whoever the next government is, whether this government repeats itself or there's another government, whoever the next leader of the country is, whether it's the current leader going forward, would have to still continue to address these issues.
Sumner said when talking about a development program, there must be specific focus to fill the needs of the employers.
The apprenticeship program that was mentioned, again, we have a keen interest in it, but we want to know again, how is that intended to work? Is it going to be another 52-week job program, or is there a plan for some sustained development of this, right? Meaning that if it is a limited program for young people and they've completed that 52 weeks or whatever the time period is, what is going to be the results after that? Is the private sector, who they may be having the internships with, expected to absorb them and give them full employment? Is there a plan afterward for this to happen?
The chamber executive said government should be facilitating entrepreneurship among young people. He said the funding would have been better spent increasing the venture capital fund from $1 million to at least $5 million for the creation of new businesses, new industries, and ultimately more jobs. Former F&M Deputy Chairman Dr. Dwayne Sand said rather than the government controlling the finances, the Bahamian people should be major stakeholders in the public healthcare system. The government intends to budget $180 million for national health insurance over the course of the next 3 years. That's $60 million each year. Sand said the healthcare industry should be treated like a business and Bahamians should own it.
Now, I have as a person or as a Bahamian, a vested interest in maintaining my health. I have to be responsible for my own health, because that's not only going to keep me well, but it's going to reduce the cost to the industry that I own. And so why not get in a discussion with the Bahamas Union of Teachers and the Hotel Union and the various pension plans and say, why don't you consider participating in a capital investment to improve the state of our healthcare system?
But how would that work? Consultant Sanitase International has projected NHI would cost government $362 million on the low end and $633 million on the high end. The Bahamas Insurance Association, however, believes it would cost closer to $1 billion to implement NHI. San said if people have a stake in a business, they will ensure its success.
I think we can do it faster, but I think we need to change the model. And I am for a much more aggressive approach involving the people of the Bahamas. Let's stop talking about Bahamian ownership. Let's make it happen. And so if I now get not only better health, but a couple dollars in my checking account because I own my own healthcare system, boy, I'm going to do my best to make sure that I eat healthy and exercise and take care of my kids.
Sands said the country needs to do away with the concept that government must be the operator, regulator, and owner of all things health.
We can solve our healthcare problems ourselves today, but we've got to change the model.
So offer shares and...
The second thing is that I think the idea that we can maintain public medicine and private medicine, whereby our people get different levels and different access to healthcare. I'm not talking about amenities. I'm talking about safety and timeliness of care. It is an abomination in 2015 to maintain a system that has been abandoned everywhere else in the developed world.
And the surgeon questioned if government is truly serious about reducing the cost of health care and making it affordable for all. Why is it following through with plans to place value-added tax on insurance?
The Prime Minister talks about giving back to the people. And at the same time, there remains a plan to introduce VAT on insurance premiums, health insurance, property insurance, life, and other forms of insurance. Well, that's going to mean that less and less people are going to be able to afford it. Why don't you simply say that it won't happen?
Well, members of a local women's group say they are fed up following the Christie administration's decision to postpone a referendum on gender equality 4 times. Members of the Citizens for Constitutional Equality held a news conference outside of the House of Assembly this past week to voice their frustration. Group member Noel Nichols says by failing to hold the highly anticipated gender vote, the government is creating confusion and mistrust.
Citizens for Constitutional Equality call on the government to make a decision on the pending constitutional referendum and remove all uncertainty over the country's position on constitutional equality and non-discrimination against women and men on the basis of sex. Both the call of history and the demands of justice require an end to this discrimination and for the granting of access to the full fruits of freedom and equality for all women and men in the Bahamas. The government's mixed signals are creating confusion and distrust.
Prime Minister Perry Christie told MB12 last year he wanted to hold the gender vote no later than June of this year. However, Constitutional Commission Chairman Sean McQueenie said he seriously doubts that will happen.
The government has a history of declaring and affirming its support for gender equality when speaking on international platforms and in conventions signed on the behalf of the Bahamian people. And while we applaud this, the seemingly indefinite delay on this important domestic issue runs contrary to our shared commitment on equality. So Citizens of Constitutional Equality calls on the government to set a date for the referendum without haste and provide a minimum of 4 months preparation time for a thorough public education campaign. We will not stand for an indefinite postponement, and neither should the government or the people of the Bahamas.
Director of the Bahamas Crisis Center, Sandra Dean Patterson, urged Bahamians to get involved and demanded that government holds the referendum on gender equality.
So important that people get involved in this, for the government to know that they're not doing it by themselves. We commend the Educational Committee for the Constitutional Referendum, who've been going around the islands and doing a wonderful job, but we need more of that, and we want to make ourselves available for that, and we want people to not just stand on the sides and say, oh, that's not relevant to us, that doesn't affect us, but to join in with it and let's make it happen.
And Prime Minister Perry Christie has renewed his government's commitment to enter public-private partnerships in an effort to lessen the burden placed on government. His comments came during the official launch of Renewal Bahamas' materials recycling facility. Here's Simone Davis.
The Prime Minister said the government spends a lot of money in areas that are best managed by the private sector. He noted that public-private partnerships will play an important role in the future developments of public infrastructure in the Bahamas. Christie said government intends to explore the feasibility and desirability of such arrangements with developers and other private sector interests. His comments came as Renew Bahamas officially launched its materials recycling facility.
We have now installed the weighbridges that the minister spoke of on Gerhard. And in the first year of the contract, we're supposed to have a sharing. And if the weighbridge would generate $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 worth of revenue, he will share in that for the first year. The good news for the country and the people of the Bahamas is, after the first year, he doesn't share in it. And so I'm assuming after the first year, it'll go to $1.5 million, thereabouts, and that is entirely money that goes into the consolidated fund of the country.
The Minister of Finance said the government decided to privatize the Lynden Pindling International Airport and the Bahamas Electricity Corporation to enhance the quality of service offered to Bahamians.
The point being this, it's the reason why when I was first in government, I thought we should put the Lynden Pindling International Airport under private management. It's the reason why we're putting BEC under private management. And we're doing it because the people of the Bahamas cannot continue to pay the rates they're paying now, even though they have been significantly lowered as a result of the reduction in the price of oil.
Christie also touched on government's decision to select Power Secure to manage the transition, distribution, and generation of electricity at BEC.
There's a debt of between $450 and $500 million that BEC has that the government has guaranteed. By the private management arrangements, just as we've done here, we want to take that load of the people of the Bahamas, transfer the operations through using rate reduction bonds, be able to have the price of electricity reduced, have the outages stopped, and be able to otherwise run an efficient enterprise.
The Prime Minister also revealed that the government is looking to privatize other Bahamian companies in an attempt to revitalize the Bahamian economy. Reporting for NB12 Weekend, I'm Simone Davis.
Stay with us when NB12 returns. We count down the top clips of the week, plus later, why nothing will stop the Andros Crab Fest this year. We'll tell you about those and other stories when we come right back.